All. I welcome you to this lecture series on thermodynamics, a course in mechanical engineering. My name is Sanjay Geji. I am assistant professor at Mechanical Engineering Department, working at Padma Bhushan Vasantrao Dada Patil Institute of Technology, shortly known as PVPIT, located at Budgaon, Sangli. Our college is affiliated to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University, known as DBAR2, located at Raigad. It is one of the top universities across India. So I will be dealing with thermodynamics, which is a course which is a course on for second year mechanical engineering students in a BTech in DBAR2 University. Okay, so thermodynamics basically is a fundamental subject which has evolved from physics and chemistry, basic physics and chemistry. Okay, whenever we say thermodynamics, it is something related to energy. Okay, and when we say this energy, we have a sensation or a feeling for energy, but but we cannot define or explain it because it doesn't have any physical form to show as such. So energy, we visualize something flashy and streaky thing like this as shown here. Okay, then in this introductory lecture, I will be talking about some historical aspects, some background and relevance about the thermodynamics, and how it has led to development of overall human life, and how it is impacting our lifestyle. All things will and its applications. All these things will be covered in this. Okay. Before starting any new subject, it is good to have some background and some relevance, so that it gives a clear idea about how to approach a particular subject, so that it creates some interest, and how it relates to our day-to-day life experiences. So that gives us some firm approach to take the study further. Okay, so this is the outline of first lecture. In this, we will discuss course structure and syllabus of second year BTech Mechanical Engineering. Then we will see the background and relevance, some historical events, and various contributions made to the development of thermodynamics. Then Industrial Revolution, how it was linked with the development of thermodynamics through stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and various applications of thermodynamics and its relationship with our daily life. Okay, so let's begin. So this is the course structure for second year BTech Mechanical Engineering for third semester. Okay, these many courses are there, many subjects are there for second year mechanical engineering. These are the course code, course types. All these details you will get from the syllabus document itself. This is the teaching scheme. That is, now I am talking about thermodynamics. So 3 lectures per week are allotted, and one lecture 1 hour is allotted for tutorials. And this is the evaluation scheme, and mark distribution are given like here. Total there will be 100 marks exam. In that, bifurcation is like this. Continuous assessment carries 20 marks. This is a mid-sem examination, carries 20 marks, and ESC means end-sem examination, that is the final examination will be carried out by university itself. Okay, so so 20 plus 20, 40 marks will be assessed by particular institute internally, and these marks these will be in the hands of a university. Okay, totaling about 100 marks. For every section there is a separate passing, so you have to maintain 40%, minimum of 40% criteria to pass. Okay, these figures indicate the credits. So credits are like a weightage assigned to that particular subject. Okay, then these credits will be helpful in evaluating your final result in terms of grades. Okay, that is your result will be obtained in SPI and CPI, semester performance index, and cumulative performance index. Okay, so this is the detailed syllabus of thermodynamics. This I have already explained now. In all, about there are 6 units you can see here, different and much of the syllabus, much of the major points are covered within these 6 units, and these numbers indicate number of lecture hours to be allocated to that unit. Okay, to cover all these 6 units and all the content, we need minimum of 40 to 45 hours of lectures. Again, it depends on at what length and what details we discuss, though. So these numbers may go up and down. Okay, so first unit is about fundamental concepts and definitions, where we will come to know about various terminologies used in thermodynamics that will help you that will help us understand the language of thermodynamics. Okay, therefore then unit number 2 is first law of thermodynamics. There we will learn what is the first law of thermodynamics, its statement, and how it is applicable to various processes and closed system and open system and all. Okay, then third unit is about second law of thermodynamics. It covers the limitations of first law of thermodynamics and introduces us to new concepts such as cyclic heat engine, refrigerator, heat pump, and 2 important statements are covered. In fact, all of the thermodynamic study is revolved about this concept, and it is treated as a second law of thermodynamics is treated as a backbone of thermodynamics. Okay, all these further parts like entropy, availability, all have come through or derived from second law of thermodynamics. So we'll these 3 units, entropy and availability, have close relation with this second law. So for only convenience they are separated in different units. Otherwise, whenever we talk about any thermodynamic problem, all three parts or all 3 things will be taken into account. Then unit number 6 is about some properties of pure substances and theory of ideal gases. We know that substances or matter exists in liquid, solid, liquid and gases, and depending upon pressure and temperature conditions. So what changes are observed during any process and how the phase changes occur and various relations to calculate those properties will be seen here. Okay, so this is all about the thermodynamics structure and syllabus of formal subject of the second year BTech mechanical in D. Bhattu University. It is again applicable to other universities also. Okay, much because if you look at large, there are very small changes in the syllabus, because more or less the basic or core part is going to be remaining same. Even though this lecture is or these videos are focused on second year mechanical engineering students, these lectures can be viewed or referred by students of third year and fourth year who have already completed this course but who would like to review some concepts, so they will get something new out of it. Okay, or the people from other branches can also attend or watch this video who have some interest towards the thermodynamics, because thermodynamics is a science of energy, purely science of energy. Even though it looks like it has got only to deal with heat and mechanical work, it is not that way. Its scope is very broad. It extends to other branches of engineering also, like electrical engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering. Even its scope is so far broad that it encompasses, it is applied in the science of meteorological, which studies about environment and the climate changes and so on. Okay, so again in the syllabus structure we have got this thing, course outcomes. Now we are dealing with outcome based education. So in outcome based education system, some course outcomes will be definite, course outcomes will be defined. So at the end of course, students will be able to do these many things. In all, there are 5 COs. Okay, and every CO is pertaining to or related to that particular unit. Okay, and there is something called program outcomes. The now program outcomes are there for in all 12. These are defined for entire course of mechanical engineering, taking all courses subjects together into account, and covering all the semesters. Okay, so these remain unchanged and common to all, and course outcomes like defined here will be specifically defined for that course only. Okay, so here is a mapping shows the relation between program outcomes and course outcomes. Okay, that it is not necessary to map or match all the program outcomes with the all of course outcomes. Okay, because course wise only few of them can be satisfied, and the rest of other cannot be applicable to that course. Like here CO1 is matching to PO1 and PO2 only, and rest of others are blank. Okay, cannot be matched, and these numbers indicate how strong or how weak is the relationship between CO1 and PO, CO and PO. Okay, so this is all about course structure and syllabus thing. All these things you will get from the syllabus document itself, from the university website. Okay, now let us look at the background of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics can be defined as a science of energy. In a broad sense, it deals with the energy transformations of various forms. We know energy exists in different forms, such as electrical energy, light energy, heat energy, mechanical work, chemical energy, magnetic energy, nuclear, sound, etc., etc. And it is based on the most fundamental law of nature, law of energy conservation, and which says that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can be only transferred from one form to another form during any process. So the total amount of energy in entire universe remains constant. Now this law we have been learning since our school days, and also covered in college day physics. Okay, so there is nothing new about it, but still it has a broader sense, or meaning wise it has got some deep understanding. Okay, so thermodynamics being a science of energy, it is closely related to our day-to-day life. Now see this. Now look at this. We are living in the technologically most advanced generation than ever before, and our life has become so comfortable that for many of our activities around us, technology has provided a variety of devices and machines. Okay, in a modern world, we are heavily dependent on various machines, equipments, devices. Okay, we have got vehicles for transportation and mobility. We have got cooking appliances at home, pumps for water supply, heaters for hot water generation, for bathing purpose. We have got technologically highly advanced devices such as smartphones, mobile phones for communication, computers, digital devices, lights, etc., etc. Okay, then but one essential thing that is common to all these machines or devices is that they require energy in some form or other form to run or to operate or function. Okay, so we have to understand this. Without energy, just nothing can work. Even all our computers, digital devices, internet services, mobile phones, all work on electricity. They need some energy, and it is provided with the help of batteries. If you remove batteries, it is like taking life out of it. Okay, nothing will run. Okay, now see, since the prehistoric era, we as a human beings always have 3 basic needs to be fulfilled for our survival. Okay, for our survival of life, and this we know: food, water, shelter, that is clothes. Okay, but we are living in the age of technologically modern world, So where just fulfilling of basic needs is not enough, and we have got some extended needs such as energy in the form of electricity for lighting and to drive many appliances, fuels we are requiring for transportation, cars, buses, and power generation, heating, etc. Then we have need of telecommunications, so we are using mobiles and smartphones, mobile and telephones. Internet services are required through the cables and wireless for data transfer in the form of text, audio, video, and for various office works in education, healthcare, banking, online shopping, etc., etc. Okay. So in recent times, entire world is dealing with online mode. So it has become a basic necessity now. Okay. Now let's consider some prehistoric era from energy point of view, how our human life got developed and what were the sources of energy in that era when the okay. In fact, all living beings, including us as a humans, need energy for various activities and survival of our life. So we consume food and our body generates the energy out of that food, and it is used for various internal and external activities and for continuation of life. Okay. So we are now talking about the era when we were in very primitive stages with no any civilization, no idea of any science or technology, and then it was only challenged to survive in the wild. Okay, survive in the wild. Okay, so in that era, almost all physical activities were done by using our muscle power only. We had okay. Then later on we learned the skill to use the animals for carrying out various activities, especially heavy duty works like plowing in farms, pulling the heavy weight carts, bulk material handling, drawing water from wells, etc., because they are having more strength than humans. Okay, horses and camel rides were used for long distance travels and mobility. Animals like horses, elephant, camel were also used in warfare and battlefields. Okay. Then about some 17 to 20 lakh years ago, humans invented two revolutionary things. Okay, that is one fire and the second is wheel, which changed everything. Okay. Now see. So two inventions, that fire and wheel, played very important role in evolution of human beings. Okay, fire, which symbolizes the source of heat. Okay, naturally it was always there. Okay, in the environment, but before this time period, humans did not know how to generate it and control the fire. Okay, then through continuous development, humans gathered sufficient knowledge about the fire generation, that is a fire ignition by friction, like here, like shown, like seen here. Then sustaining it with the help of burning materials like firewood. Then it's safe, controlling it for a safe use without causing any fire hazards, and extinguishing it finally in a safe manner. Okay. So the uses of fire were as a source of heat to get the warmth against cold surrounding conditions, to cook the food, to melt the metals. These were initial uses. Source of so it was also a very good source of light during the night hours and darkness for better visibility. So all these things changed life a bit. Okay. Then the second invention was a wheel, which symbolizes the rotary motion and mechanical shaft work. Okay. Humans had some rough idea about rolling motion, that is smoother and faster than the sliding motion due to less friction. Okay. Now see the development of development of a wheel in a progressive manner. Okay. So initially people used to have this rolling trunks of the wood to transfer the heavy materials like this. Then slowly and slowly this wheel and there was development of a wheel, axle, bearing, etc., etc., and finally the assembly of wheels, axles, and bearing fitted to a carriage became very successful. Okay. Then uses of wheels were to used for transportation in cars and cycles, to remove water from deep wells, and source of, but still even after inventions of fire and wheels, the source of energy or power was still limited to human muscles or animal muscles only. Okay. But however, these inventions of fire and wheel marked the beginning of civilization in the human history, which was a major turnaround in any way. Okay. Now look at this, thermodynamics. The title thermodynamics is a combination of two Greek words, therm and dynamics. Therm means heat, which symbolizes fire, and dynamics meaning motion, force, work, or power, which symbolizes wheel. So this is how the thermodynamics has its connection deeply rooted in the two revolutionary inventions, that is fire and wheel. Okay, so this is how thermodynamics has evolved. Okay, so it is a subject which deals with conversion of heat into work or work into heat, and changes of properties of matter due to these energy conversions. Okay, this is some crude definition of thermodynamics. Okay, now let's go through the history of evolution of thermodynamics, which is quite interesting. In the late 18th century, lot of development was happening in the field of science and technology. During this time, many of the fundamental discoveries and inventions and research were accomplished by many great scientists and engineers, and this paved the way for technological progress in the near future. Okay, and based on these discoveries and scientific principles, a variety of machines were invented to solve the problems faced by people in doing many physical activities at workplaces, farms, or residences. And all these things led to rise of machines and manufacturing factories. Okay. Then as a result of technological progress, a variety of different kinds of machines were invented and developed to carry out different works. For the first time in history, these machines made life easy and comfortable for the people to some extent. Okay, because of these machines, many of the physical activities became easier and simpler to do, and that resulted in reduction of human physical efforts, and process made faster, hence they were time saving, and many of the manufacturing and production activities were mechanized, due to which mass production of various items and goods was possible. Okay. Then because of mechanization, there was a rapid growth in industries like textile mills, steel foundries, and coal mining, etc. Then bigger capacity factories were set up on a large scale, which led to the rise of new industrial communities. Okay, then it resulted in growth in business, growth in trades, leading to overall economic growth of a nation. Okay, it all brought up some improvement in standard of living for the people and in their work environments. Okay, all these advances in science and technology progresses led to industrial revolution that started around the year 1760. The industrial revolution marks a major turning point in the history of human life, and it almost changed every aspect of daily life, as it influenced, and there was a change in dramatic way or some other. Okay. In the 18th century, the process of industrial revolution first started in Britain, which was once the greatest empire ruling the world. Okay, but that time we Indians were still under British rule, so didn't have any chance in the industrial development process. Okay, again, Britain being a powerful nation, leading nation in the industrialization, Uh, but very soon this industrialization process was spread across various other leading progressive countries such as Germany, France, USA, Italy, and Netherlands, etc. So most of the development or industrial process began in the western part of the world and majority of the European nations. Okay, all these, but on a positive side, industrial revolution brought some prosperity, wealth, and comfort living to the people, but it was also having dark side or flip side. In that, all these industrial nations were in fierce competition with each other for more and more growth and profits in trades and businesses. Then there was a intense race for dominance in the world. Later on, that rivalries turned into great wars like World War One and World War Two, which caused enormous devastation and destruction to entire world and made people suffer a lot through disastrous changes. Okay. Well, now let us see the connection between thermodynamics and industrial revolution. Okay, in the early 18th century, the development of steam powered engine was an important element of industrial revolution. It all started with the efforts of great scientists and engineers like James Joule, James Watt, Carnot, Rankine, etc., to name a few. So steam engines or heat engines were invented. Let us look at what a heat engine is. It is a device which converts thermal energy into mechanical energy. Okay, here you can see the diagram. Thermal energy being input and rotary mechanical work is the output. Okay, so this is the construction of this. Okay, and there is a cylinder and a piston arrangement containing a working gas or a steam. Okay, there is a source of a heat. So by absorption of a heat, gas or fluid expands in this, and due to rise in pressure, a piston is pushed towards this side, and it starts reciprocating motion, and this reciprocating motion is being converted into rotary motion with the help of mechanical linkages like levers and connecting rods. Okay, so finally we get a rotary motion and a rotary mechanical work. Okay, so heat is thermal energy converts to mechanical work or kinetic mechanical energy. Okay, so this is a simple idea of a engine to obtain the mechanical work. Okay, so this is the picture of early steam engines, which was developed by two British engineers, invented by British engineers, Thomas Savery and Thomas Newcomen, and later on developed by great engineer James Watt. Okay, so here you can see, you can understand the construction. Piston and cylinder arrangement here, steam is contained inside here. Its reciprocating motion is being transmitted through these mechanical linkages, and finally a rotary mechanical work is obtained at this flywheel. Okay, and this shaft this rotating shaft can be connected to many other applications to drive spinning mills, shafts of grinding mills, textile mills, and many other to drive the pump or compressor, etc. Then these steam engines were then with little modification were applied into dynamic applications like for transportation. So trains and locomotives driven by steam engines got developed. So it improved the situation of transportation on the land. The same way, steam engines were used in ships and boats to propel them through the waters. So these applications in transportation changed the face of the world in a big way. Okay. So engine is a device which transforms one form of energy into another and produces useful mechanical work, and such mechanical work can be used to drive vehicles, to travel from one point to another point, to pump the water from low level to high level, or to drive the shafts of mills like spinning, grinding, turning lathes, machine tools, etc. So applications are many. Okay. Then there was the entry of electricity. Invention of electricity at the start of 19th century was a major breakthrough which actually changed the world significantly and raised the human life to another level. It was only possible through the great efforts of scientists like Michael Faraday, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, who were working relentlessly in the field of electromagnetism. Okay, then for electricity generation, this generator and alternator was invented by Michael Faraday. It worked on a principle of electromagnetism put by Michael Faraday, which requires a mechanical prime mover to provide a continuous driving force and thereby generate electrical power on a continuous basis. Okay, now look at this picture of generator. This is the old model of early electric generator, and these are the recent models. Okay, even though designs are changed a lot, but the working principle, basic principle remains still the same. Okay, so Faraday's principle says that now understand this construction first. Here is a rotary shaft which is actually armature carrying the current conducting coils. Okay, and surrounding it there are the magnetic fields set by permanent magnets. So Faraday's principle says that when a conductor is moved with some force, with some force cutting the magnetic flux or magnetic field set by the magnet, it induces electric current in the conductor and thereby electricity is generated. Okay, so to generate this electricity on a continuous basis, you have to rotate this armature in this magnetic field with some force on a continuous basis. Okay, so to have such arrangement, steam engines can be readily used, because steam engines were anyway producing mechanical rotary work. So the rotary shaft of a steam engine would be directly coupled to the armature of generator, which would rotate it continuously at required speed, and electricity would be produced continuously. Okay, so now we are having such system is known as a steam power plant or electricity generation power plant. Okay, this is a typical layout of a steam power plant. Later on, that steam engines were replaced by the steam turbine units, which carry a rotary turbine wheel having some blades around it. When steam is made to pass over those blades, due to kinetic energy and due to force, it is made to rotate. Okay, so here you can understand the simple principle of this steam power plant or thermal power plant. Okay, this is a coal supplying unit which is used as a primary fuel. Okay, this is a boiler unit to transfer the heat from combustion to water to convert it into high pressure, high temperature steam. This is a steam turbine unit, and then its shaft is coupled to generator to generate the electricity. So now understand the energy conversion chain here. The coal is burnt in the furnace, so its chemical energy is converts to heat energy or thermal energy, and that thermal energy transferred to water to convert it into high pressure, high temperature steam. Then this thermal energy is carried by steam into the turbine, where under high pressure it makes the turbine rotate. So so thermal energy converts to rotary mechanical work, and this mechanical energy then used to turn the generator, and generator generates the electricity. So conversion is like chemical to thermal energy first, then thermal to mechanical energy here second, then mechanical energy to electricity. So this is how all the power plants work. Okay, it is although the one of the oldest technology, still in recent times it is a leader in power generation. It is about almost 50% of power generation is done by this. Okay, it has got some unique advantages, but as of late, due to extensive use of such power plants, it is burning the coal as a fuel, so it is producing lot of emissions through this carbon emissions, and it is somehow uh, contributing to or causing damages to environment through global warming and climate change. So to limit all these things and for environmental protection, uh, now these such systems are being phased out. Okay, and we are now moving towards renewable form of energies. We are like solar panels for direct conversion into electricity, or wind power, wind turbines, etc., etc. Okay. Now let us see some major contributions done to the overall development of thermodynamics. uh, Understand this, that basic principles of thermodynamics have always ever exist since the creation of universe. Okay, only what scientists and engineers did is they discovered many discovered and invented many things by which the various rules, various principles of thermodynamics came clearer. Okay, so invention of a steam engine which triggered the process of industrial revolution. It was by scientists so Thomas Savery and Thomas Newcomen in England. Okay, then further it was developed and improved by the great scientist and engineer James Watt in 1776, who actually increased the efficiency of that steam engine and made these steam engines very successful commercially. Okay, such steam engines, steam powered engines, were began to be widely used in various industries like coal mines, textile mills, iron and steel foundries. Okay, to carry out various works. Then so what happened is, this successful application of steam engines created a lot of interest among the other scientists and engineers who were working in the physics and chemistry. Okay, but and the advent of steam engines actually provided the stimulus to birth of thermodynamics. Hence, thermodynamics is also said to be a daughter of steam engine. Okay, so steam engine proved to be the cause from which the actual development of thermodynamics began, as it created a lot of interest among the various scientists. Okay, so for just a minute. So, to honor the James Watt for his enormous efforts in the steam engines, the SI unit of physical quantity power is named after him, Watt. So, Watt is the unit in which power is measured and calculated. Some bigger units like kilowatt, megawatt are used for higher quantities. Okay, then Nicholas Leonard Sadi Carnot, in about 1824. He was a very exciting and young French engineer who was working in military. He was actually interested to know what could be the maximum limit of efficiency of steam engines. Okay, so in pursuit of that, he actually provided a new engineering approach that significantly changed the way in which thermodynamics has developed. Okay, so he proposed a theory of Carnot cycle and gave the condition for maximum thermal efficiency of steam engines. So this Carnot cycle is very special theory, and which holds a special place in thermodynamics, and it is highly regarded because because it gives the maximum limit of thermal efficiency for cyclic devices such as heat engines and refrigerators. Okay, and it is treated as a standard reference, ideal standard reference to which the performance of the cyclic devices can be compared with. Okay, hence for his great works, sometimes he is regarded as the father of thermodynamics. Okay, then the term energy was coined by Thomas Young in 1807. Okay, it was not even though people were learning about energy, but that term was not still there. They were referring it to in terms of heat, work, or calorie or something, or calling it some different word. Okay, but it was formally introduced by this man in 1807. The term again thermodynamics was coined by Lord Kelvin. Real name is William Thomson in 1849. Then there was a development of first law of thermodynamics around 1850 by two great scientists, James P. Joule and Julius Mayer. Okay, both these worked in their independent ways. Okay, but their conclusions were quite same at the end. Okay, and particularly Joule was experimental physicist. He carried out extensive amounts of experiments in various ways and finally became successful in establishing the equivalence relationship between mechanical work and heat. Okay, so it was like a milestone achievement in development of thermodynamics, and to honor his tremendous efforts, the SI unit of energy was named after him, that is joule. Energy, like power is measured in watt, energy is measured in joule. Okay, like joule, kilojoule, megajoule, and so on. Okay, and about Julius Mayer, he was in fact a medical doctor. Okay, and he derived all his conclusions of this first law of thermodynamics from his physical and biological observations. Okay, so his contributions were also equally important. Okay, then there was a development of second law of thermodynamics. There were some limitations in the first law of thermodynamics which were spotted by these many scientists like Lord Kelvin, Max Planck, and Rudolf Clausius, and they worked towards that, and they came up with the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, the first textbook on thermodynamics was written by William Rankine in 1859. He was also a British engineer who worked towards the development of steam power plants and steam turbines later on. Okay, the term entropy and internal energy were coined by Rudolf Clausius in 1865. It was also a turnaround movement in the thermodynamics. Josiah Willard Gibbs in 1839 to 1903 developed the thermodynamics into a general science of a broad scope, so that it now covers almost all branches of science and engineering. And he also introduced Gibbs phase rule to determine phase of a substance. Okay, now here we have shown or we have mentioned only few names which were the major ones. Okay, but remember that hundreds of great scientists and engineers have well contributed to overall development of thermodynamics as a formal subject. Thus, thermodynamics is a perfect blend of major and minor contributions in some way or other way around. So it cannot be credited to single person or any individual or group of individuals. So we can sum up that it has been developed by a number of invaluable milestone achievements by legendary scientists and engineers. So we have a great legacy of knowledge which has been gathered over the about 300 years, like long time span. Okay, now having discussed all the historical events and contributions in industrial revolution, let's just go through the stages of industrial revolution, how the transformation happened over the time. Okay, now since last couple of years there is a lot of talk about some buzzwords like industry 4.0, AI, that is artificial intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in this regard, let us look at how industries have been transformed through the past years. Okay, so we talked about invention of steam engines that sparked the rise of industrial revolution in the 18th century around the year of 1784. Okay, so this beginning stage was known to be first generation of industrial development, and it is characterized by mechanization of manufacturing processes and use of steam engines as a mechanical power source. Okay, then after a gap of about 100 years, okay, there was the entry of electricity in the 19th century, and electricity being a more convenient and clean form of energy to use, it was widely and readily adopted by industries. So this milestone change from mechanical power source to electrical power source was marked as a second generation of industrial revolution, that is industry 2.0. Okay, then we came into a 20th century, and we saw some new technologies like electronics and computers evolve and rise, and automatic process controls and systems got developed, and such automation processes and control systems uh, became very famous, and warmly welcomed by many of the industries, as they offered a lot of benefits like precise control and faster and better quality production, etc. So the third generation of industry, that is industry 3, is characterized by process automation, electronic systems, and integration of conventional manufacturing processes with computers. Okay, now today we are here. Then in the around 1990s, and at the start of 21st century, there was an entry of entire new concepts such as internet and www.com, that is World Wide Web. Okay, it was a whole new concept that evolved due to huge advancement in computers, data transfer, and telecommunication technologies. And in quick time, internet occupied almost every aspect of our life and brought about revolutionary changes in the way of doing things in various segments like banking, commercial buying and selling, video calling, entertainment, education, etc., etc. Okay. Now we are moving through the fourth generation of industrial revolution, that is industry 4.0. The new and very super advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, AI, IoT, Internet of Things, and smart devices, machine learning, etc., are being introduced into the industries, and automation systems existing in the industries are being taken to next level. In such a scenario, data transfer and communication is possible between various smart machines via high speed internet facilities. So it is also possible for different industries and factories located anywhere in the world to communicate, share the data, and work collaboratively. So we have thanks to high speed wireless internet facilities like 5G, so that the longer distances between the industries will not be barriers anymore. Okay, so all these industrial developments through stages like industry 1, 2, 3, and 4 which have happened over the 300 years time span have some connection all the way down to the invention of steam powered engines. Okay, and thereby the thermodynamics, which actually triggered the movement of entire industrial revolution process in the 19th century, in the 18th century. That's why we have to thank and give some credit to the thermodynamics as such. Okay, now let us look at some typical applications of thermodynamics on which obey all the principles and laws of thermodynamics in some way or other way around. Okay, the human body is very good example of thermodynamics, because we consume lot of food, and through that food and digestion and metabolism, energy is generated by body itself, and this energy is used to carry out various internal and external activities. Internal activities, by that I mean like blood circulation, breathing, functioning of various organs such as brains, heart, liver, kidney, etc. And energy we also require for external activities such as walking, talking, doing some activities, physical exercising, etc., etc. Then air conditioning systems, as we know, are used for providing comfort conditions work on thermodynamic principles. Then in transport applications like aeroplanes, cars, bikes, ships, all use some form of energy in fuel or electricity, and they perform the work of travel. Refrigeration systems all we have at home for food preservation, okay, and vegetable preservation to maintain the low temperature conditions, okay. Then we have also seen the power plants which convert fuel into electricity, okay. These are quite big and complex examples, applications dealing with thermodynamic principles. Car radiators which are used for engine cooling also work on thermodynamic application. In this way you can see lot of things around you. You can find tremendous numbers of applications of thermodynamics, okay. Then energy relations in our daily life. We know that electricity has been a major form of energy in the 21st century because it is very convenient to transfer from one point to another point. It is the cleanest in nature, no any emissions and also noiseless and silent. And we know that nowadays majority of devices are working on electricity. Computers, smartphone, digital devices, pumps, refrigerators, ACs, all run on electric motors, okay. Nowadays there is a trend of electric vehicles which are replacing the conventional cars and bikes which run on petrol or diesel. Now those are also being phased out, okay. Then we need a mechanical work for transportation and mobility applications through vehicles to reach from one point to another point. Heat or thermal energy is required for cooking so we use LPG gas stoves or microwave ovens or induction cookers. Hot water requirements are there which are obtained from solar water heaters or some heating appliance, okay, for various activities and various purposes, okay. So this is how our daily life is connected with energy. So day in day out we are playing with energy, okay. So finally, so what is thermodynamics? So it is a science that deals with temperature related to zeroth law, energy and its transformation related to first law, irreversible processes related to second law, and the property entropy related to third law, okay. All these details will be dealing with all these things we will be dealing with in details in those respective units as we move further, okay. So all these four laws are based on experimental observations which cannot be proved directly, okay. Which by this what it means is there is you cannot produce any result as such, but through the observation it can be proved, okay. Thus thermodynamics is a fascinating subject which is applicable in almost all branches of the engineering, okay. So with this today's lecture is over. I hope I have covered all relevant contents as much as possible at certain length in this introductory talk, and this will help you understand the history, background and importance of thermodynamics in our day-to-day life and its through its various applications, and how it is impacted our human life development process, okay. So would like to request you to visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel Sanjay Geji, and press the bell icon to receive notifications of latest videos. If you like this video, please like it and share it with your friends and classmates to spread more awareness, and your feedback is also welcome. You can put in the comment box so that it will help me understand your expectations, or your inputs will be helpful for me to improve the quality of audio and video of these sessions, recording sessions. You may also ask your doubts if you have any questions regarding this topic, or even you may contact me through my WhatsApp number and email ID. So thank you for watching and for paying attention and your time. Have a nice day. Come again for next videos. Thank you.